Thank you everybody for joining me for this quick version of our school-wide expectations, our school orientation. This is covering the AZVA and the ISAZ, Arizona Virtual Academy and Inside Academy of Arizona. And it's the expectations for how you're going to be working with our school and how our school is going to be working with you. Our mission is to have that year of academic growth. It's the same mission that any school probably has. We want our fourth graders to finish, to complete, to meet their goals for fourth grade so they can go on to fifth grade. So that's the same for all of our grades. We want to help you connect with your child's teachers, to engage in your academics, and we're going to reinforce some great, excellent engagement habits and attendance habits. And we're going to help your child grow to meet that year of growth. This is my favorite slide. This is a myth-busting slide. It's a what we are. We are a real public school. We just happen to be online. We're a real public school that requires assignments to be completed every day. We're a real public school that requires some live virtual classes, and we have daily attendance requirements. We're not a homeschool. You don't get to willy-nilly decide you're not doing your work today, you're not going to do work this week, you're not going to do work this month, and not have those consequences. So if you don't do your work today and it's due today, it is makeup work or overdue work, and it will follow you until you get that done. So it's important that you do turn in your work Monday through Friday and attend your live classes. If I stretch out our expectations, this is what it would look like. You need to log in, just like walking into school, you need to log into your school. Attend your online classes. That's where your teacher can talk to you, teach you, just like I'm doing now. They can show you things about your lessons. They're going to do all the things you would see in a normal classroom, but with you online. There's also the online lessons that you have to do. They don't take as long as you might think, so it's really important that you get in and try them before just assuming that you don't want to do it or it will take too long. There's also offline work that you can do. So perhaps you're in high school and you're writing a research paper, or you're in kindergarten and you're working on your alphabet or your letters, your numbers. There are things that you can do offline, and your advisors will be working with you to find what does work for your grade level. Communication is huge. We're an online school, so we don't see our students in the hallways. We can't send you home with a paper in your backpack. We don't see the parents in the drop-off lanes. So it's important that you return phone calls, return emails, reach out to us if you have questions. Your advisor is your go-to person, your personal superhero. So reach out to them anytime you have any questions. We do have the learning coach doing attendance, and that's because you see them in their offline work. We don't. So if they had 2 hours of working on their science project and doing PE and doing a Khan Academy video, that is work that we wouldn't see, and so we couldn't give them credit for it. So it's important that you go ahead and put that in so that your families do get the credit that they deserve. And the last thing is the testing. Every school in Arizona, every school in the nation, and most likely the world has some form of assessments that they do. We do them at the beginning, middle, and end of the school year. And we also have state assessments that happen normally in the spring. And it's the Ames test, or it was the AZ Merit test this year. It's the AZ Merit 2 or AZM2, whatever they want to call it this year. That will be coming up in the spring, and that is required. Here's a quick view, a quick glance at what a learning coach would see if they log in. That left-hand side in green, that's the most important area. You can see any of your students there. You can see the basic schedule. You can fill in attendance, which is super important. And you can see any announcements that go out school-wide. Nothing that the student does should be done in your login. It won't count for them if they do it that way. But it's important to pay attention to the attendance piece. If you're not sure if your middle schooler has logged in with his or her real login, if they have attendance on their login, it's not theirs, it's yours. So pay attention to that attendance piece. This is what the middle school plan would look like and the K-5 plan would look like. Everything that's required that's due on Monday, it's due on Monday. So if it shows up as being due, it is due. High school does have some locking dates, so they will tell you in advance that, hey, this assignment is due the end of October, then it's due the end of October, and they will lock it at that point. The students in middle school, high school, that left-hand side hallway is in blue. They don't have the attendance piece there, but they do have the tab that says classes. That's the one that you want to make sure that they're going to always. Always, always, always click on classes. For the K-5 side of things, this is the weekly view, which is the one I suggest. It's the easiest to see all the things at a quick glance, to know if they did their work yesterday, if they have a lot of work tomorrow, how many live class connects do we have. So I always suggest that you put it on the weekly view. Click on plan at the top, click on weekly, bam, this is what you see. This is that same view, but a little more intense. It is highlighting a couple key areas on your screen. The part that looks all blurred out, those would be those live class connect sessions. The bottom where it says required, there are 4 lessons that the learning coach has to do as a new family. It just gets you up and running with what a lesson would look like for your students. They typically spread them out, but you can do them all at one time. So if today is Thursday and I want to click on Tuesday's work and Friday's work, I can do that on Thursday. So just click on the lesson you want to do. That being said, look at that purple circle on the right-hand side. It is pointing at the actual lesson, not the name of the class. So you always want to click on the lesson, the 2.11. Don't click on the Summit ELA, because that will take you to the big book and you want to go straight to the lesson. So that applies to all of these. Click on the actual lesson, which is underneath that title. This is that weekly plan. Again, sometimes you'll have overdue assignments. Maybe you didn't do your work on Monday. So it will show up there and it'll say overdue. You'll also see a tab that says overdue assignments, and you'll know that way. There are a few situations where certain families do not have an overdue tab and their overdue work just kind of hangs out where it was due, and you'll need to make sure that you get that done. It's just like makeup work. If you miss a day in a brick and mortar school, that student would go back to school and the teacher would give them their makeup work and they would have to turn it in that next day. That's what overdue work is. It's work that's waiting for you to do it and turn it back in. Here's that view for your middle school, high schooler. And here's the week view for your middle school, high schooler. I always suggest you print it. Use that print screen button. It's the easiest. Sometimes if you just try and go up to print, it will print half the page. So that's not as helpful to me. I like to just use that print, the function key in the print screen, the home screen, and that's so much better. And again, always, always, always go to the classes tab. So when you click on classes, then you'll see all of the different classes you have, and you'll go in and out of each one to do your work. It's the best way. It's like going into my classroom. If I teach you algebra, you go into the hallway, and then you go into my algebra room, and then you sit down and you do your work. It's just like that. So make sure you're going into each room. Teachers like to post extra credit or tips for the lesson. So it's super important that you go in that way. When you're in your classroom, you'll see your grade. You'll see if you have overdue assignments. You can click on contact my teacher. Super easy. If you have 10 teachers or 7 teachers and you don't know which teacher is which, when you're in that classroom, you can just click contact teacher and it will tell you which one. It will go right to that correct one. So then there's less guesswork involved. To do your lessons, you can click on the lesson things at the top of the screen in that blue bar. There's lessons that are listed on the bottom left in a calendar area. You can also click on the top plan. You can click on the top content. There's 4 or 5 different ways you can find your lessons. As long as you're doing them, whatever way that works for you works for us. The live class connect sessions, like I said, some are required, some are optional. They're always on your schedule. Sometimes you have more classes for a couple weeks if you did a little bit lower on an assessment, because the teachers really want to work with you and help you get things up and running. So the basic school expectations: log in every day, complete your lessons every day, communicate with your teachers as often as needed, attend any required live class connect sessions, and have your parents update attendance. Super important that that is done. The state does look at your attendance. We don't want you to look like you're truant. And remember that you can't mark 24 hours of attendance and do 30 minutes of work. It really needs to balance. Doesn't have to match exactly, but it needs to kind of balance and make sense. Here's a list of the hours that the state has told us that they need for these grade levels to accomplish. So kindergarten through 3rd grade, it's about 20 hours a week. 4th through 8th grade, it's about 25 hours a week, and 9th through 12th, it's 30. Does that mean that you have to do 4 hours every single day, no matter what? You might go a little less one day, a little more the next day, but roughly we need you to focus on those 4 hours. Most of the time, it's super easy to do. Your advisors could give you a ton of tips on how to make that work. I very rarely see families that struggle with this, but if they do, I have a conversation with them. we figure out what it is that they're doing, and then they are just fine after that, and it makes more sense. What can you do now? Figure out where you want your students to work. My daughter sat on her bed. She put all of her papers around her. My son sat on his bed, and that didn't work for us. So now he sits at the kitchen table. I couldn't sit on the bed without falling asleep. So figure out what works, and then if it stops working, you stop doing it. You find something else. Make sure your computer and internet are working. This is an online school, so you need to make sure that that's working. I'm an online job. They're not going to pay me if I'm not online. So I have a backup hotspot in my phone. I have Dunkin' Donuts down the road and a library. I can't just say, well, I couldn't get online, so I still want you to pay me. That'd be swell, but it doesn't work that way. The same for you guys. If you can't get online and you do nothing, it's kind of fun, but that means you're absent and it counts against you and you have a lot of makeup work. So it is important to have a backup plan, and you can't miss all of your classes because that's something that is important and some of them are required. Some of our computers, if you're using our computers, when you log into our system, or even if you're using your own computer, when you log into our K-12 platform, some of the settings are not quite right with our time zone. So we've noticed that your computer may be right, but the platform itself is not right. So you will want to make sure as a learning coach, go into your login, click on your name, click on time zone, and make sure it says the GMT Arizona time zone. That is super important to make sure that you are getting to all of your classes on time. We've noticed some families say, well, I was in class at 10, it started at 10, but no one was there. And then the teachers say they didn't show up, and it's because they did not have the time zone set correctly. So do make sure you double check that. I'm going to be sending you some helpful resources along with this recording. So make sure you check it out. This is our district site. It's sort of your go-to one-stop shopping. It has information on what your advisors look like, what field trips are coming up. For instance, this month, there's a lot of pumpkin patches that are being visited by all of our teams around the state, actually. Check it out for information on tech support or gifted programs. There's a lot of information. And one more piece of information that is new to our school, and I'm going to click on it and try and show you. It's the Flyer app, and I know you can't really see it, but you can see that little paper airplane. It's called Flyer Connect in my iTunes App Store. If you download that, then what happens is we send messages out almost like an alert, and so it's called a push notification, and it would let you know, hey, there's an upcoming event tomorrow, or don't forget to give yourself this, credit for attendance if you did this, or don't forget there's no school tomorrow. So it's important information, but it doesn't just get funneled to your email. So it's a really nice way to kind of see what's going on without actually having to open up and read and go through all of your emails. So super easy, super fun. And soon, probably after Christmas, we'll have some more specific groups in there. So if you have a K-5 student, you'll get some K-5 specific information. If you have multiple students, you might get all the information in one. So highly suggest you get that Flyer app. It's free and it's super handy. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach back out to me, but I always advise you go to your advisor first because they know their grade level and they know exactly how to answer everything really quickly. I hope you have a wonderful day. We're super happy you're able to join us and enroll with us. And if you have any questions, again, please reach out.